Life isn't perfect, and neither are we.
Nope. But we know how to face our fears
And have some fun.
and talk about all the messiest things of life.
Like the messiest things.
Get connected to yourself, get connected to others, and get connected to the life right in front of you.
This is The Connected Life with Justin and Abby.
That's me.
That's you.
And you. I almost just said, "What's up, Connected Life Beats?" because Justin is not here. And even though I hate that he always starts with that thing, I was like, he's not here, and in tribute, we should start like that. Today, I am so excited. My heart feels full in 1,000 different ways. This weekend has been our LCMC kind of like graduation weekend. Our students, this is so fun. Our students in first year and second year decided they were going to descend upon Reading. We did not plan it, but they decided we must meet each other. And it has been honestly a life-changing experience. I was telling Justin that this weekend is like in one of my like top 5 weekends of my life. And my wedding being one of them, but it has been so special. And so Justin has hit the end of his people capacity. He's hiding somewhere in some space. I have no idea where, not even at the house. But I was like, I am not going to miss this opportunity to have a podcast with just 2 of the biggest love nuggets from our school and talk about a little bit about this weekend and specifically like a couple of the encounters, the love encounters that we've had, because I think it will just, there is something contagious about love. When you hear about somebody being loved in a way that impacts them, it reminds you that there's hope alive in the world. It reminds you that there's something better than the hellhole. It reminds you that like heaven can be on earth and we can participate with that. So that being said, I was going to see if I was going to try to say your last name. We have Phillip Bernier.
Very good.
Bernier.
Yes, Bernier.
Yes, Bernier. That's such a nice name. We have Phillip Bernier and we also have Ryan Anderson. Welcome, guys, to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome to be here.
Yeah. Look at both of you guys have as low voices as me because I've been yelling so much.
Yeah, we've all lost our voices a little bit.
Yes. So, okay, you both, why don't you give just a little bit of like a 2 to 3, like this is a part of what my life is. And so people just can have an introduction to you.
Yeah.
Phillip, why don't you start?
Okay. So as Abby said, my name is Phillip. I'm 30 years old. I'm 30.
All right.
Do you not know that, Ryan?
No, I definitely thought you were older.
Oh, yes. I've been on my own healing journey for about 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've done just about every method there is out there.
Yep.
And then my sisters, knowing that, started getting into some of your courses, and they said, you have to take these courses. So I said, well, I go big or go home. I did the full LFA immersion program.
Yep.
Signed up for the mentorship where I got the life consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in 2022. And I have just been like a rocket and I've never looked back.
Yes, it's so true.
Yeah. I did LCMC this past year,
Mm-hmm.
which has been so incredibly transformative. Like I really like the person that I'm becoming. I love who I'm becoming, which is pretty big news for me considering how much I've tried to work on myself and like strive to be something better. Now I'm like, man, I'm really happy with who I am and where I'm going.
I love that.
Heck yeah.
That's awesome. And also, ladies, he's available. Just saying. He didn't say I could say that, so I might have to edit that out. But just in case you're listening and you need a husband, he's one of the good ones. So, okay, Ryan, what a little bit about you.
Man alive. I already know where to start. From Canada, up northern Alberta, live in redneck country. My world is, oil and gas. And so that's all I really know. Tried to implode my life, my marriage about 4 years ago. And I watched my wife, how she handled it. I'm going to be crying a lot. My emotions are on the surface.
Yeah.
She handled everything so freaking well, considering what I had done and the experience that she had through it all. And she was the reason so she was looking for something different. Counseling wasn't cutting it fully. Connection with people that were safe didn't really exist. And so she found Justin and Abby, and she would periodically send me a podcast. And I listened to it. I'm like, what on earth is this? It was so over my head. It's like just a bunch of hippie shit that I don't get. I don't understand this. But she slowly would continue to send these. And I would try to listen to them. I might get 15 minutes in, and I'm like, I'm done. And it wasn't until Justin and Abby, you guys put David Tenson. That podcast, all of a sudden, is like life started making sense. I hit a certain phase, and being as I felt like I wasn't just floating in nowhere. I actually was in a place, someone knew where I was.
Yeah.
And then I watched Lindsay. She was the reason why I continued to be somewhat curious about this emotional health. And so I did LFA, triggered out of my mind the whole freaking time. And then I did Pathway, and it was no better. I don't even know how much I retained. There's a lady, Beth. I'm going to do a shout out to Mama Beth there.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for her, anytime she'd open her mouth, there was something that kept me drawn in. Otherwise I was so triggered. I was so pissed about all this. What is this crap? This breathwork shit, all this whatever. Like, I'm redneck country. So yeah. Anyway, but it was something about her, something about what she said, how she acted, or just her heart for me, that kept me in it. And it's like, there's something about this. And I didn't even realize that though in the moment. So anyway, found freedom and healing and a little bit of understanding, just a smidge enough to realize there's something to this, and there's more to this than a logical perspective approach from like a psychology counseling session.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking earlier, we don't get healed in logic. We get healed from the emotional state, the heart postures, the love. And so, yeah, that started my journey into LCMC, and have not looked back. It's been insane. Yeah.
It's funny because I remember not knowing. I was like, I wonder how, because you, Ryan, you're like a little like teddy bear on the inside, but crusty on the outside. And which we all have come to adore, but I was not sure how much you would engage and choose in to this culture and what was happening. And then it turns out you bought all the way in, and you have let people love you, and you have let your heart be seen, and you have opened up in an extraordinary way.
I didn't know what to say to that other than like, logic was safe. Love, I didn't know what love was. I had a weird distortion of it.
Yeah.
Same with God. Shitty experiences with church. And my thought was middle finger to church, to Christians, to all this. But there's something about Jesus. And so that's what I hung my hat on. And my goal was to figure out what love was. Little did I know that's all this course is. Is figuring out love, how to let it, how the rooms in our body and our soul, we get rid of that shit, that junk, we throw it all out, and if we're not careful, it gets filled with more crap, more junk. Well, this course shows us how to fill it with love, compassion, understanding that we're all human. We're all doing this thing together. None of us are bad, none of us are wrong. We all do things for a reason, and there's compassion for that, there's love for that, there's embrace, hugs like I've never experienced in my life. So this is when I hit the end of my rope, when I broke my heart bad enough that I couldn't take it anymore, it's like, well, there has to be something to this. When you got nothing left, you're so willing and you're so open, you're ready, you want it.
Yep.
I just want to say, Ryan, as a fellow student, I was so amazed when I first saw you show up, because you had so much pain. There's so much you were carrying. Like he could see it through the Zoom screen. It was like there was this weight on your shoulders weighing you down. And I was just like, and yet he's still here. Like it was like this was the last place in the world you wanted to be. It felt like that sometimes. And the look on your face while people were talking or teaching is just, you're just like, this is BS. Why am I here? And yet you kept showing up.
Yeah.
And I was immediately drawn to you, as so many of us were, because you still had this tenacity toward love, even though you were like blind to it. You were like, I know it's there. I know it's out there. And I'm willing to do things that seem stupid to try and find it.
Yeah. That's really true. Okay. So that's where you guys both, you came into LCMC, and let's just talk a little bit about what this weekend has been like. We've been in school for the whole year. So you've started to get to know, like, we know each other from on screen and from interacting and having conversations. Let's talk a little bit about what it was like when you first got here in this weekend and what that was like. And then we'll talk about the Friday night experience.
Yeah. Well, when I first got here, everyone was like, you're so tall. Everybody said that. Like there wasn't one person who didn't say that. Even people who were taller than me.
Yeah. That's funny.
And built.
Why don't you tell the story of how you got, like, the first moment you got here, though?
Oh my gosh. So I came in late. I kind of was doing my own thing. There was a gathering of what I thought was maybe 6 people at Babs and Vaughn's house. You know, Tim was cooking some meat, and I was like, man, I've been hearing about Tim's meat all year. So I was like, I need to try his smoked meat. Right? So
Smoked meat, yes.
So I show up super late.
Yeah.
Like the kids are probably in bed, but I'll see Babs, I'll see Vaughn, you know. And I get in there, and I hear this worship music coming. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I stepped in, and I came into a room full of like 25 people.
Yeah.
I knew all their faces.
Yeah.
I loved every single one of them.
Yeah.
And it was like this, my love capacity was filled in like a half of a second. I was just like, oh my gosh, I love all these people. I want to hug all these people. I want to sit and talk for 8 hours with all these people. And I was like, I don't even know how to process this.
Yeah.
And I hear this scream from somewhere around the corner in the living room. And Babs comes flying. She comes flying around the corner like, Phillip. She gives me this big hug.
Yeah.
And then people like just like lined up. Like I was just standing in the doorway. I couldn't even get into the room because so many people were coming to me and hugging me. And just, I was just so embraced with love.
Yeah. I watched the video, and I was expecting you to get in the room.
Yeah, no, I did not.
No, you
for a
were
long
literally
time.
like 1 inch from the door.
Yes.
And it was just a lie. Like people just onslaughted you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've never experienced such an embodied love like that.
Oh.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
What has this weekend been like for you?
Overwhelming, but in a good way. And it's been really, really hopeful for me. You know, there were things, it's shifted some of my beliefs about life, eternity, God, heaven, and
How so?
oh man. Well, so I had an NDE as a kid.
For those of you who don't know, that's a near-death experience.
And I experienced incredible things to
From
try
heaven.
and so I met God, this incredible being of light. I experienced unconditional love that is beyond my capacity to even comprehend in this moment, let alone express.
Totally.
To use words is like trying to explain algebra to an amoeba.
Yeah.
So forgive me if it's a challenge.
Sure.
And it was so wonderful. And I didn't want to go back.
Yeah.
I did not want to come back. I was like, screw Earth.
Yeah, totally. Like, this is incredible.
Yes.
Keep me here.
I felt so much like me. And at that point, I had already experienced a lot of trauma,
Yeah.
a lot of shutdown, and all of that just fell away.
Ugh, so
And
you
I
were
was-
like the most authentic version of you
I was
because you were safe
fully
in love.
me.
Mhm.
And I hadn't been that in years. And yeah, so I was like, all right, this is great. This is it. And this incredible being of light who was with me. I was the center of the focus of the universe.
Ugh.
Except I also knew that it was true of every other human being alive.
Yes.
And I was so surrounded by love. And in this interaction, we communicated without words.
Yeah.
So it was deeper than words. Words can convey misunderstanding. There was no misunderstanding.
Totally. It was like knowing.
Knowing.
On
yes.
on a core, like, I don't know that you have bodies or not there, but like in the inside of the depth of who you are, knowing of each other.
Yes. And it wasn't just the meaning of the word. There was the emotion, the intention,
feeling.
the love. There was 100 layers to every meaning that was communicated, every statement of meaning that was communicated. And when he told me he wanted me to go back, so I didn't think you could feel angry in heaven. Turns out you can experience the full range of emotion. You don't need your body for that, apparently.
That's funny.
I was like, I do not want to go back. Why would I want to go back?
Right.
And he said, I want you to go back. And it was like an invitation. Mm-hmm. It was like a decree.
Mm-hmm. It was both at once.
It was both at once.
Let's partner together and you have a choice and also you don't have a choice.
And when he spoke this intention, it was like eternity just waited.
Whoa.
And there was some angels that were with me that were helping me and then ended up, going up with me, and they were just waiting. They kind of gave us a little bit of space, but they were still there, And when I saw the infinite wisdom of God, I saw how vast he was. He's like really convincing. And so there was a part of me that was like,
that's not what I was expecting. That's funny. Convincing God.
Yes. And when I'm learning is actually a fairly common NDE experience. When I left my body, I could see through the ceiling of the room where I was in. My family was a bunch of lights in their bodies. My body didn't have a light. I was the light.
Yeah.
And the idea of the pain that my siblings would have. And that combined with God's divine will, there was a part of me that was like, F no.
Yeah.
And another part of me, there was this joy that was familiar. Yeah. There was this joy and this agreement with him that was like, yeah, I do need to go back. Like, this is your wisdom. I'm totally on board. And so it was very hard, but it was if I didn't experience much of an awareness of my body personally, but it was almost as if I bowed to him. I was like,
wow.
Yeah, I'm surrendering to your will.
Posture, yeah.
And then I was back in my body.
Wow.
And I was alive.
And I was alive.
Yeah.
It's a very important part of this story.
Yes.
This is not a podcast with a ghost.
Yes.
Yeah. He made it back.
Yes. And he was so strongly with me. But I didn't have much of a framework because of my own barriers, trauma, beliefs for that level of unconditional love.
Yeah.
And in a sense, I felt threatened by it. I was like, well, no one's going to believe me.
Right.
There's no way anyone's going to believe me about this. And it was so esoterically personal.
Yeah.
That even if someone was going to believe
they
me,
couldn't feel it.
Right.
They couldn't actually know what it was like.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I just need to lock this away. This is so wonderful that it's actually not safe for my life.
Right.
And so I told no one.
Wow.
I just kept it locked away and only began to start approaching it again in LFA for the first time.
Which is amazing. So partner, that will lead into this story in a second. But when you said this weekend has been healing for you around this concept, can you explain why?
Yeah. So I was really mad at God, even though I literally agreed to come back.
Yeah.
I was still like, this is your fault.
Yeah. I'm still mad. Why'd you make me do this?
I was like, well, of course I'm going to agree with you because you're so smart. God. And when I had this transcendent body where I could comprehend so much more, it made total sense.
Yeah. It made sense in light of eternity.
Right.
But in earth ability to conceptualize.
Right.
No
when
sense.
I'm blinded by my pain.
Yes.
And I'm just stuck in my trauma loops in my brain and my head. I developed a lot of anger toward God.
Yeah.
And I started on the process of forgiving him for, he did nothing wrong, but just
but letting go of the pain. Yeah.
Where I was like, you are a bad dad because you sent me away.
Yeah.
And through LFA and developing that safety, God told me, I sent you back. I never
Not sent
sent
away.
you away.
Yeah.
And I realized that presence I experienced with God, it's still here. All of it.
Yeah.
It's just my awareness of it.
Yes.
And so it really shifted my
Wow.
comprehension of God in heaven.
Yep.
And so we approached this weekend, and part of why I've been upset with God is I'd never believed I could experience that level of unconditional love and acceptance that I did.
Yeah.
And I missed it
Yeah.
so bad. And so I thought I'm going to have to live my whole life here. It was almost like, do your term, do your time, like on this dirty rock. And,
Yeah.
and when all of these people were here loving me, there was this sense of, this is familiar to my soul. And there was a worship night when it was not just the people at Babs and Vaughn's, but so many other people who, most of which I also knew and loved.
The rest
Yes.
of them.
It was like Babs and Vaughn's house times 10. So much love everywhere. And there was these moments where I wasn't talking to anyone. I would just step back and stand by myself, and the tears would fill my eyes, and I would get these brief flashes of emotion and impression. I was like, this is home. Like, this is an echo of home. And it was so beautiful. And I've heard pastors saying, like, bringing heaven to earth. Totally. And I always thought about, like, quality of life, culture, justice.
Yeah.
But in this moment, watching this culture that we're a part of, so much love, and everyone is celebrated.
Yes.
Like, it's so bizarre. You'd think in a big group like that, people would get left out. They'd be on the outskirts. No one was.
Yeah.
And that's how it is in heaven. Everyone is so celebrated. And I thought, okay, maybe heaven really can come to earth. Not just in the intellectual sense, but the heaven I know that's so real, so powerful, so personal. Like my heaven experience, that actually can come to earth. And it just changed my perspective on heaven coming to earth, but also, okay, God, I can give you a little more grace for telling me I need to come back. Like, okay.
Off the hook a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. There is something so special. So you guys are both in first year. We had our second year graduation dinner last night, which we all cried. I think everyone has cried so much this weekend. Like I'm like, next year I will have electrolytes to pass out to people.
Smart.
Because there's so much everywhere. But there's something, because there is, one, we have shared language and shared experience. So we all understand. But two, everyone knows each other knows, even if you don't know each other, there's like a knowing. And so you watch all these people being quirky. Like, it's not that everybody came here and now they're all trying to be like little Justin and Abby's, or that now they're trying to be like, I want to be like Rachel, or I want to, like, people are fully themselves. And you're watching people, like, today we had this, he's such a love nugget, Thomas, was talking about, he's like, my sense of humor is coming out so much more because I feel safe.
Yes.
He's like, I feel like no one's judging me. I've never felt so secure in being wanted and belonging that all of a sudden I'm opening up this realm. And I have, for me, I went through like a crazy season where I encountered God's love so much when I was in my 20s, and it radically changed my life. And it felt like this. It felt like judgment lifting, where you could actually connect to the people around you because you saw the best in them and they saw the best in you. And you're no longer just colliding with the things that you're frustrated with and just people's pain, but there's like a love that is greater. And I got free. Like, I started becoming less self-conscious. I started becoming more funny. I started becoming like, I would dance and be playful. And like, for me, those things are vulnerable. Like being more like charismatic, that's vulnerable for me. Some people hide behind that. That's not true for me. So all of a sudden I was able to step into more of my personality, and trauma can really lock you up. So I've had to fight a lot. Like, that's been part of the magic for me this weekend, is there's been moments where I have felt that thing again, where you start to believe that love is more real than the judgment that we have to walk through every day, where you start to remember that you can be safe, that you can find people that are Jesus in real life for moments for you,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it was beautiful. I mean, literally last night we were all sobbing. Multiple people were like, this is the most I've experienced heaven on earth, is a culture where everybody gets to be them
Mm-hmm.
and everybody is celebrated.
Yes.
Everybody is wanted.
Yeah.
Everybody belongs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you guys feel that this weekend too?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And FYI, like 2 years ago, if I would have heard what Abby just said, I'd be like, yeah.
Screw that shit.
Yes. Like, she isn't wrong. Like, when we are able to work on our shit and be open enough, willing enough, vulnerable enough, and humble enough to be able to self-examine, to let other people speak into your life, to be able to let love into the places that is scary as hell,
Mm-hmm.
it transforms.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't found a church. I haven't found a psychologist, a counselor. I'm not much of a Bible dude. There is a verse that I've been kind of thinking about a lot in the last couple of weeks. Faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I'm like, why did he just repeat himself? Like, why did he say love twice? And now it's like, hope is scary and fulfilling. Faith is like unknown, but still knowing or known or whatever. Then you got love that I feel like we've only scratched the surface of.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely incredible. So when Abby's talking about this heaven coming to earth, when Phillip is talking, yeah, 100%. But yes.
I love that. Why don't you talk about what happened Friday night for you? So Friday night we had a worship service with both years of school. We had first, second, and third years here. And it was really fun for us. And your story was one of my favorite stories. So go ahead.
So, yeah. Still trying to figure out who this God is, what this Christian thing is, if I even want to call it that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm on the journey.
Yeah.
And people within this group have given me the freedom. They've encouraged me
Yeah.
to critically think through who
Yeah.
is God? What is this Christian stuff? Who's this Jesus? What does this mean? Not only from a logical perspective, but also emotional. And
Yeah, because here you don't have to have the same beliefs to belong,
yes,
which is something that is incredible.
yes, yeah. So Friday night, I've been wrestling for quite some time. Even when the little jot form come out, are you going to attend Justin and Abby's worship thing? I'm like, maybe. So show up, and I don't come for the worship. I come for the
The
people.
people, 100%.
Yet, with all the walls built up inside, I've intentionally left cracks. Because it's like,
Yeah.
I do want to receive. If God has something for me, I want to receive a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Too much is too much, I guess. So, first song comes on, or there's played or whatever, and people are being all
Woo!
worshipy. And I'm like, all right, where's the exit? You know, so I'm standing there. I got a drink in my hand, whatever, and I can feel the internal wrestle of, I'm here. I'm ready. Just open that crack a little bit more. You know, God saying this to me. And so badly wanting to do that.
Yeah.
And yet absolutely scared shitless.
Mm-hmm.
And so just tearing up, all the things that kind of go along with that. And it's like, Kate, time to titrate out of that. And whatever. So second song comes on, talking about how good God is. And I was like, all right, that's my cue to leave. I'm out. And so a little bit of backstory to some of this, I guess. My wife and I, we've been on this infertility journey for over a decade.
Mm.
And have tried multiple avenues to conceive, including failed adoption. And so 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, we were like, Kate, we're going to spend some money.
Yeah. We're going to do this.
If we're doing this, let's do this. So we did that, spent some money. And during that time, I ended up having an affair. My wife is in another city trying to have my babies. And I have an affair. And that started a whole roller coaster, just a shitstorm of everything, you name it.
Yeah.
And So in the beginning of this conversation, I mentioned it was my wife, how she handled this. You know, she hated my guts, obviously.
Totally.
Like, but yet there's this weird element of love. So anyway, we put everything on hold. We had 7 embryos of mediocre. No, sorry, 5 didn't make it. 2, the last 2 were mediocre quality. And so, and of course, with my affair, we aren't going to implant these.
Totally.
Even the fact that I told her the day before that I didn't even tell her. I couldn't tell her. She figured it out and I just wept.
Yeah.
And yet we still followed through with the procedure the next morning. Yeah. So we froze those 2 embryos, and I feel like, and my wife, Lindsay, as well, like we felt like we got to a place where I think we're okay.
Yeah.
I think we're okay.
I think you'd healed a lot.
Oh man, we healed a lot. And so we implanted these 2 embryos. We're like, okay, 1 or 2 of them. Like, and we're like, well, all right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. And we just both said both. So we implanted both these embryos, trying to hope, increase the odds. And as well as we don't want to do this again. We've done this so many times.
Absolutely.
If we have twins, hell yeah, all day long. We'll deal with the consequences of that later. So 2 days before flying out here, we got the results that she wasn't pregnant. That the test was negative. And this time, a lot of my God wounds and hurts was from the previous fertility journey.
Yeah.
And who else do you blame?
Totally.
There's no human in this.
Totally.
So it's like, well, it's God. Screw you son of a gun.
You son of a gun.
And through this course, this journey of LCMC, understanding why I do what I do, trying to understand why I do what I do, and understanding this is a process. This ain't no quick thing. Where's it going with that?
We're getting to Friday night.
Yep, that's right.
The goodness of God. There. You walk out because the song is the goodness of God, and you're like, no, I can't touch that. And so you walk out to the front yard.
Yep. And I exit. I light a smoke because that's one of my regulation techniques. Not taught or endorsed by Justin and Abby.
It's a good disclaimer. Good disclaimer.
And Phillip follows me out. No, he doesn't. I'm halfway done my smoke. He comes out. How you doing? And
let's pause there
for a
second. So why do you follow him out?
Well, excuse me.
Yeah.
Well, I was sitting in worship night. I saw Ryan kind of standing at the door, and I was like, wow, I appreciate his courage, knowing his story, that he's even here, even if he's like standing by the door.
Yes.
And I was trying to engage in worship, and I kept getting distracted by this idea that I should go talk to Ryan. And I was like, am I just being codependent? Like,
sure.
And part of my story is I don't really do corporate worship. It's been years and I've missed it so much.
Right.
So here I am. It's like, I need to make the most of this.
Totally.
And yet
Here's my one moment.
That's not where my heart was going. That's not where my soul was going. So I felt really drawn, and I looked over and Ryan wasn't there. So I walked outside to go find him. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I've been learning to listen to my heart. I've been learning to listen to what's going on inside. So followed him out there. We're just like, hey, how you doing?
And so then what happens? We'll give you a version.
Yeah. So we start talking, and he opens up to me about these 2 embryos and the pain and the song, The Goodness of God. And at this point, like, we're both tearing up.
Yeah.
And I'm just standing there, and I feel this really clear need for someone to be with Ryan in the pain.
Yeah.
Like just giving him a hug and being like, I'm sorry. Like it just didn't feel like it was what was needed in that moment.
Totally.
So I totally wanted to hug him, but I was like, I don't feel like I have this level of pain that he's in, that I can enter into it, but I feel like that's what's needed. And it was probably a 5-second pause while I was processing this, and out comes another first-year student.
We're good to say her name.
Okay.
Yeah. Out comes another first-year student, April, and she's like, you can tell she's got something's going on with her, and she's very intent on Ryan. She's like kind of shaking a little bit. And as soon as she came out, I was like, I know where this is going. So she comes up to Ryan, tearfully, and just says, Ryan, your babies. And of course we're all and she just comes up and she gives him a hug, and they're just hugging and crying. And she was like with him in the pain. He hadn't even told her at that point.
No. April didn't know.
She didn't know.
She didn't know.
She knew of the fertility process,
Journey.
but that was it.
Oh,
So yeah, she not even knowing, she just comes in and she's right here with him, like feeling and grieving.
she's crying.
He's crying, with him. And I'm just standing there, just silently bawling my eyes out.
Yeah.
And, in class, you guys talk about the sacredness of these spaces. And I didn't fully understand what you meant until that moment. It felt so sacred just to be standing there a few feet away as a witness to this. Like a passive partner in this loving process. And that was just so beautiful.
What was it like for you, Ryan? Tell us. She comes out, and what happens for you?
Well, I thought she was experiencing something for herself.
Yeah.
So I'm like going to give her a hug in the middle of my own kind of crazy whatever. And she ain't there for her. She's there for me, to the point of literal, like physical,
Like travailing.
like
weeping.
100%. And she kept kind of like taking steps to the side, like she thought she had to puke.
Because the pain, it was like so deeply affected her.
So deep. And I don't know how many people have ever had that ever happen to them ever. I sure as hell hasn't. And those little cracks that I left open in my heart for this love. Yeah, that was, they were filling up fast. So fast.
What did you feel while she was doing that?
The duality of, is this legit? Is this
I love
real?
your honesty. Yep.
Is this, and yet so badly wanting it to be, it was more real than not.
Totally.
So, we always have those thoughts, but, and allowing myself to feel the emotion, to experience this process, this journey that this offering that she's given me, and my wife.
Yeah.
And just freaking sobbed. Like, I probably killed half your lawn with snot. So much salt, so much. Oh man. Yeah.
And so then after, she comes out, she just like comes for you, sobbing. She's crying with you, over you. You're watching this. You're crying with them together. What happens after that?
So we reached kind of like a lull.
Yeah, like
regulation.
we've cried it all out as much as we can in that moment.
Kind of the ebb from the flow. And April said something kind of casually, like to me, I don't really know much of your story. And for some reason, even though we were just here with Ryan, it was just totally appropriate.
Yeah.
And I started opening up a little bit, and I was like, I want to be sensitive to everybody's capacity right now.
Little did I know, I didn't know what that meant. I thought I did, but
I like turned and looked at Ryan. I was like, everybody's capacity right now. And seeing the pain, I wanted to share some of my story.
Yeah.
But it also was kind of scary because I don't really share that part of my story.
You're talking specifically about your NDE.
NDE.
You're like, I've never shared this with people before. Right now feels like the right time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I shared like tiny bits and pieces.
Yeah, little.
Like through this course as I was like approaching my levels of safety with myself.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of practice, but never just like fully opened up. But seeing that pain on someone that I loved, I was like, I have to take the risk.
Yeah.
Because he needs to know that there's so much more life
Yeah.
beyond this world. And so I started telling him, and he started getting wrecked. That's the best way to say it. Like I told him in doses, obviously. Because,
What do you remember? Like, what impacted you?
How much you good with me sharing?
yeah, whatever you want, man. Yeah,
All
I would
right.
say just you know, as far as people I met, maybe don't mention their names. But that's
Yep. On both. Okay. Yeah. You had mentioned. Oh, I have to give me a sec here.
I think it was. I remember you reacted pretty strongly when I told you I had met babies that hadn't been born.
Yep. So yeah, you had seen spirits or souls, ones that have been on this planet, and ones that haven't made it. Ones that never made it here. And you're like, there's a difference. There's a difference in the souls that have participated in the journey on this planet, and there's a difference in the ones that never did, and the ones that never made it here. The ones that never made it. Obviously not a parent, but when Phillip said, they are so smart, they're so wise, they're so whole, and they're so loved. It's like every parent's dream for your kid to be bigger, better, stronger, wiser, all the things than yourself. And it opened up a new. Well, that was a lot of slobber.
Yeah, we're cry fest over here.
Yeah.
Big cry fest.
It opened up another realm of what this love thing could be. That God sees beyond our earthly. No, how do I word this? Our humanness can only see and experience so much at certain times. Trauma affects how much we can receive, interpret,
Yes.
all the things of love.
Yeah.
And then I hear about these souls that never made it. And it opened another reality, another kind of domain to love for me, that these embryos, they are a life. They are loved and they're cared for whether they've ever made it to this planet.
Yeah.
And there's so much healing in that.
Yeah.
And hope.
Yeah. Is it okay if I share what I
Keep going, dude. Yeah.
One of the things I said to you was that you are a daddy. You are. And there is very valid grief that they didn't get to do this effed up journey here on earth with you. Like, that's such a valid pain. That's real. You do have kids. You have a family in heaven. You have children there waiting for you.
Yeah.
And you will get to be a dad. I mean, I'm believing for you here on this earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in this blink of an eye that we call life, you know, beyond that, you already have such a vibrant family. Like, your heart's desires are already there waiting for you.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Okay. I totally remember now. There's so much emotion and crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I recorded this. And
Well, now
we
you are.
All right. Yeah.
What was it like for you? You've never shared this before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've shared it in snippets, sorry,
Mhm.
but to this extent,
Yeah.
like, you've never opened it up this much, and now you're sharing it, and probably the fears of, like, will people think I'm crazy, or how will this be received, has been a part of your brain in the background in the past.
Oh,
at
for
least.
sure. Yeah.
When you now are sharing this and it is impacting is that impacting you?
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it was like the high stakes nature was just so diminished. And of course, Ryan's super safe. He's an incredible listener. So, like, if there's anyone I'm going to just open up about this to, it's Ryan, right?
And now the whole world.
But when I saw how he was affected by it, I began to think, okay, not only am I safe, not only am I believed
And known.
and known, one of my big triggers is not being believed from childhood. So not only am I believed, but this is actually loving him. This is good for him. This is making an impact and easing some of the greatest sorrows in this world.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe I should stop holding this a little so close to my chest.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this so much. I mean, and I love what you said. What did you say at lunch today? You're like, maybe, what'd you say about God? Do you remember? Either of you? It was like, maybe God, maybe.
Something along the lines of like, yeah, not that he's necessarily good, but that maybe he cares about me. Maybe he wants me.
Yeah.
Maybe he actually wants to be my friend. Maybe he wants to be a dad that, none of us have ever experienced on this planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And so then after that night, so you snot and you guys have this great encounter with love.
Mm-hmm.
And then the weekend continues. How has that impacted both of you because like once you open up, because I've watched you're crying every time I see you this weekend.
You're not supposed to disclose that. Come on.
It'll ruin their manly image of me.
Exactly.
It feels like that's not the one moment of love for you. It's felt like there's been moments that just keep compiling in there.
Yes.
Is that true?
100%. Well, I'm going to backtrack it here. So I ended up talking to a second year who had lost his second born in 10 weeks. And hopefully I'm getting this right. But anyway, he said, his wife's birthday and a Christmas, he writes letters to his wife from their son that didn't make it.
Oh.
And 4 years ago, when we did this fertility journey, started this journey, Lindsay, for my birthday, wrote me a letter from my kids. And at that time, I didn't have, like, what are you doing? Like, I didn't think embryos were even a living thing. Like, I didn't know what I thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, to have so many validating experiences with the second year, with his experience, how he writes letters from his kids to his wife.
Yeah.
And how my wife has done that for me. How your ND experience. Like, there's so many things that just seem to tie together, and we're like too perfect to call it coincidence, let alone to have this internal experience of love that I didn't know it even could be a thing, could even exist. And it gives me so much hope for the future and excitement. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved. I'm pursued. The world might blow up, and that's okay. That's okay. We will be okay.
Ugh.
So,
and I wanna say, because the whole weekend was full of amazing encounters.
Yeah.
I just want to say about that one particular experience, it wasn't just me and April.
Yeah.
So another student comes out and they're like, I was worshiping and I just felt like I should seek you out. And like there's Angie comes out and then Jenna comes out. And I was just thinking to myself, like Ryan, you can't lose God. Like you can run, but like you can't hide. You know what I mean? Like he's just indirectly through people, but he just keeps coming at you. He keeps slowly widening those cracks in your heart to receive his love.
Yeah.
And he's not going to stop.
No.
And it's like, it's so interesting because he honors your own free will in that.
Yes.
But yeah. Also, I did want to say, I didn't share everything with
I
Ryan,
know.
which felt so safe to me.
That you were allowed to give some away
Yes.
and keep some for you.
Right. There was safety in the boundaries. And that was huge in being able to open up to. So I'm like, well, I'm going to tell you what I want to tell you, but I'm not going to tell you what I don't want to tell you.
Yeah.
And it was totally okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Very empowering for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was one of your favorite moments besides this one?
Oh man.
That's pretty tops.
I will have to say probably some of my favoriteest of favorite moments, because the whole weekend was full of favorite moments.
I know. I've asked a lot of people, and every time they're like overwhelmed, they're like, whoa.
Yeah, where do you start?
I can't
It's
just
the
pick
whole
one.
thing.
Can I pick 10?
Yes.
This was Saturday when we were in the park. we gave you guys kind of that book that we'd all just written you notes in and stuff.
Wrecked us.
And then someone was like, let's all pray for Justin and Abby,
Yes.
right? So we're praying, and I'm there with my head down, and across this whole like horde of people that are around
there's
you.
like 50 people around us.
Yes.
It is glorious and deeply impactful for us.
Yeah, and part of me is thinking, I hope they're not claustrophobic.
Sweating their bags
But
off.
It's very
different
true.
people are just praying and just kind of just opening up and praying. And I hear this voice that's like, and he starts, so we don't really talk much. And I immediately know who this is. I know this is Ryan. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what is happening right
He's
now?
gonna pray. I know the whole group explodes. Like I literally am like, I know it's you, Ryan. I think you said, do you remember what you said? You're like, so me and God don't really talk that much. But,
Pretty much.
But I think you said like, but for you, we're gonna see what we have.
See what we can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was such an authentic prayer
Oh,
because it was right where you were. It was like you were showing up exactly where you were in your process with God. And was it a conventional prayer? No, but it was a 100% authentic Ryan speaking from his heart. Like, maybe you're good. Maybe. And I love these people enough that I'm willing to talk to you a little bit about them.
These people have created an element of safety for me that I never knew could exist. You done?
Yeah, go for
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so this will lead into my top thing, I guess. Then, so safety. My body never knew what safety was, and so when Abby, Justin, all the people that are part of this organization, they're like, yeah, okay, we're going to try safety, and it felt so unsafe, scary as hell. Didn't make any sense because my body didn't know what that was.
yeah.
It had no baseline for what this safety thing was. So physical touch has never been a thing for me. I think at one point it was, something happened, don't know what it was, and now it's almost repulsive. So at least back home, I come here to California with these people, and I cannot get enough hugs. I cannot get enough physical touch. There was an element of safety created that physical touch is okay. I want it. I crave it. I have no idea. There are certain people that I feel like I cannot hug enough.
Yeah.
I feel like if it was an energy that you could suck out of someone, they'd be dead. And so there's, prayer. I haven't, it's been years since I talked to God. Justin and Abby are some of my safe people. When we do these visualizations or whatever, I never had to say, I had fake people. I had Doc Holliday on Tombstone. And I had whatever.
Yep.
Harry from Dumb and Dumber. And now I have real people.
Wow.
I got Justin.
Yeah.
I got this Paul Young guy I never met, but there's something about him that safety is critical and key to our freedom and our healing, I believe, for our souls. And this, I don't know where I'm going from here. My dyslexia.
You're talking about your prayer.
Yep.
And the hugs.
And the hugs, and how the hugs impacted you so much. And you decided that you would pray for us, even though you don't believe in prayer.
Yeah. I think that was just my reference to safety.
Yeah.
Even though I don't know what I think about God, how I feel about him, but there's something about Jesus. And I love the shit out of these two people that we're praying for. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I want to do that for them. I want to take that risk. I want to, so safety was created.
And it wrecked us. I think every single person cried when he prayed. And it was so real. It wasn't like, God, you're so, like, it wasn't like, I'm going to say what you should say in a prayer. It was just absolutely from the heart. And I think that's why this weekend was so impactful, because people weren't trying to be what you're supposed to be. There wasn't I'm the image of what I should be for LCMC, because the image for LCMC is that we're all freaking messy.
Yes.
That's the image. The image is that we're all messy, and underneath it all, we're all needing love, and we're all needing safety, and we're all trying to protect ourselves from where we've been hurt. And that thing inside of us connects us all. There's like a common bond that we all have from being messy, not from everybody needs to look the same. Everybody needs to have the same theology. Everybody needs to have that. Like, we are much more about, like, we care about that you're learning how to think, and we care about that you're learning how to be in your body, and we care. And so we're here, and people are just being real, and a real prayer pierces through the heart on a level that a professional prayer never does. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Authentic love is what transforms us the most. So I just feel so moved. I have loved witnessing this and being with you guys in it and watching you guys love each other. And I'm so thrilled that you guys made time to come on this podcast. When you're sharing, the impact is so tangible because I've watched your story. I'm talking to, oh my God, my brain just stopped entirely, Brian. Because nobody can see who I'm pointing to on the.
Yeah, and we're all low on sleep because we've spent so much time.
Many hours
just
together.
trying to maximize those weekends. Yes.
So that was so, just your story is powerful, and your authenticity and your love and your genuineness. And I just feel honored for every ounce that you've shared of yourself and who you are. You've made this group so much richer. You give other people permission to be them. And that's what I love about this crew. Everybody gets permission to be them. Yeah. And I've loved that. And then Phillip, I just never would have dreamed, because I think when people hear about eternity and love and what God is like beyond what our minds can figure out here, I don't think our minds can comprehend God here. I think we have so many limitations. And we get pieces, we get glimpses, we get moments that we encounter something. But as you were sharing, like, I could feel my whole soul just like opening up. Like, this is what I believe God is. This is who I believe God is. I believe the love is so much crazier than anything that we understand. And I do believe that with eternal perspective, I don't know how, but I know that with eternal perspective, life on earth makes sense. That there's something about it, like God sending you back, and you could understand how it made sense there, but you can't remember that here. Like, that is just deep in my belief system. The more you understand eternity, the more you can have grace for this process that earth is. And I felt like both of you are just inviting people who are listening into their own love journeys. Like, you're both stepping out in vulnerability, and it's so brave, both of you, in totally different ways. But each of it is the invitation, if you're listening, to just open your heart crack just a little bit more to love, to just believe that there could be love just a little bit more, to find that authentic thing inside of you, to know that you there is a place that you can find here on earth where you can be safe enough to start to be you again. I think you brought that up in the very beginning about how you felt so authentic.
Yes.
When you were young and you went to heaven. And I can see just the moments where you're touching that authenticity again, where, like, moments.
Yeah. There's moments where I'm like, I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait to be fully me till I get to heaven. Yeah. It's one of the many wonderful things I've been unpacking from LCMC.
I love that. Yes. Okay. So if you're listening, send this to people you know. It's going to heal people's hearts. It's so beautiful and so powerful. And the way people get connected to our podcast is through people sharing. So share it. Also, LCMC, next year applications are open. It's best if you sign up now, because you do need to go through the Pathway to Freedom, which they both went through before school starts. And so you still have time to do that without jam cramming it. But it is a year that will change your life, and it will change your view of yourself, and it will help you get comfortable inside your own skin so that you can open to love in a deeper way. And you will meet friends that you never would have chosen. Like, I don't know in a room if you guys would have been like, oh, that's my person.
Hell no.
No, he works with an oil company. I am a green energy enthusiast. I promote electric cars.
We've had convos.
Yes.
But you find people that you know are with you on a level that you don't get to experience. Somebody was just saying that at lunch. They were like, the bonus, like you learn a life skill, you can have a job if you want after it. You can grow in transformation in your own soul. But the thing you get as a bonus is you get people who love you and know you in a way that you haven't gotten to have before. So join us if you want to. Thank you guys so much for being on the podcast. I feel so full after talking to you. I'm so freaking proud of every yes you have said. It is such a joy. And like Phillip was talking about earlier, what a holy honor to witness both of you in your story becoming the men that you are. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby.
All right.
Thank you,
Goodbye.